Welcome to Ask Dr. Neha. I'm an internal medicine physician who teaches about how our inability to communicate can literally make us sick. Today we're filming in Williamsburg, New York, and our question comes from Sherry in Chicago. Sherry asks, Dr. Neha, I am working to be a better communicator, but sometimes I get confused about when exactly to ask to have a conversation. And I want to be an honest communicator, but I don't want to over-communicate. So could you please tell me how you know when it's time to have a conversation? And also, once you do, how do you actually set it up for success? How do you make sure that it goes well? Thanks, Sherry. Sherry, I totally feel your pain. As you become a better communicator, sometimes you can want to share everything that's happening. And I use a few simple techniques. One is called the 3-time rule. So the first time I notice something, like let's say somebody interrupting me, let's say it bothered me. I'm trying to share something, they interrupt with me, I don't feel heard. So the first time it happens, I pay attention to what just happened and I pay attention to my internal reaction to it. What did that mean to me? Did I think it was rude? What were my thoughts around that and how did my body respond? Then I take a nice deep breath and kind of let it go because, everybody can have a bad moment or a bad day. The second time it happens, I file that away in my mental filing cabinet because that means that a pattern might be developing. And the third time that it happens, that's when I know it's time to have a conversation. Because a few things have happened here. First of all, it does seem like a pattern is developing, number one. Number two is it's bothered me 3 times. And the third part is I now have some data that I can share with the other person so that they understand where I'm coming from. I can give them a few concrete examples. So the 3-time rule is how I know when it's time to have a conversation. And the other way that I know is if something has happened, let's say today, and I wake up tomorrow morning and it's one of the first things on my mind, I call that the sunrise rule. If I wake up thinking about something or it stays on my mind and lingers into the next day, that means it's occupying too much of my mental real estate and it's time to get it off my mind and have that conversation. And for the second part of your question, it's a great one, which is how do I actually set myself and the other person up for success? There's actually a really important, I call this the prep for success tool, but you want to pay attention to 3 things. You want to let the other person know that a conversation's coming. And this is just for the important ones, not for every conversation that you have, right? But the ones that are important, that you really want someone's attention and focus, you let them know 3 things. The topic that you want to be talking about, the amount of time you think it's going to take, and also you ask them when is a good time for them. Now you might be asking yourself, why do I need to ask them when is a good time for them? Well, it's actually in your best interest that it is a good time for them if you want them to listen. So say that you want to ask your boss for some extra vacation time. It would be a good time for you to ask him or her when they actually have the time to listen to you and pay attention to why that's important. So that's why it's important that you get their buy-in. So just remember, there's communication tools, which are very important, but there's also how you know when it's time to have a conversation. And once you do, how you set that conversation up for success. So for all of you out there, remember, there's the 3-time rule, the sunrise rule, and prepping for success, which is the topic, time, and asking the other person when's a good time for them. So pay attention to your next conversations and see if that makes things easier for you. So I'd make that challenge to all of you out in the audience. How do you know when it's time to have a conversation? What are your rules? And if you'd like to just try out the 3-time rule and the sunrise rule, I'd love to hear how that worked for you. Until next time.